Hello, everyone. Today we'll do two halachot that are slightly different from each other, but still in the context of personal grooming. So the first one is about brushing our teeth, and the second one is about washing or bathing. So one may brush one's teeth on Shabbat to clean them and to treat the bad breath. Similarly, mouthwash may be used to freshen one's breath. However, it is proper to refrain from using toothpaste the same way we refrain from using bar soap or thick liquid soap. While it is true that some forbid brushing teeth on Shabbat, either due to the concern of shechita, sechita, squeezing because the gums might bleed or because the bristles of the toothbrush might break. Nevertheless, the primary halachic position is the lenient one that one may brush one's teeth with a toothbrush lechatchila. It is only in the case where it is almost certain that the gums will bleed that this is prohibited. And we mentioned that earlier in terms of what's called psik reisha, that if something will happen almost certainly, and it's a result that is prohibited on Shabbat because of melacha, then you don't do it. But in terms of the toothpaste, that's not Rav Melamad's opinion. Toothpaste is not like soap because it's much more liquid. And also in terms of the bristles and all of that, there's no schita, and also they won't break because they are much softer nowadays. So I'll just say that you can use your regular toothbrush, which is stronger or tougher during the week, and have a designated one for Shabbat. As far as I know, that is what Rav Melamed tells the students in Harbacha. One may wash off the toothbrush with water after brushing, as one normally does, even if one does not intend to use the toothbrush again on Shabbat. This is not considered preparing for the weekday on Shabbat because it is simply a matter of routine and is not considered a significant chore. Furthermore, removing the residue from, I don't know what this keeps popping up. Removing the residue from the brush also serves a purpose on Shabbat, as leaving it dirty would be disgusting and that will hurt our Oneg Shabbat because we don't want to see that, when you go back into the bathroom or whatever. One may clean one's teeth with a toothpick. That's already in the Shulchan Aruch, which is incredible to me. That means that already 500 years ago, they knew about this kind of usage. If there is no toothpick available, a match may be used. While it is true that matches are muktzeh, they are kelim shemelacham leisur because that is their category. There's 4 or 5 different categories of muktzeh. So even though it is something that its purpose is for something that is forbidden on Shabbat, because we're not allowed to light a fire, but one may handle them in order to use them for a permitted activity. We'll learn much later in chapter 23. We're only in 14 now. We'll learn that if you have a hammer and you want to break nuts or walnuts or something like that, you're allowed to. And similar examples. So you're allowed to move a muktesh for two main reasons. One is it is in a place that is bothering you, like on the Shabbos table, and the other is to use it for a permitted activity, like the match for a toothpick and the hammer for breaking walnuts. Of course, one must remember that one may not sharpen the match for this purpose, as sharpening it would violate a Torah prohibition. And last, one may use denture adhesive powder to attach false teeth to the gums, as this is meant for the short term. It's not boneh and it's not medabek because it is only for those hours that it's in, and then afterwards you wash it and you put them again in. So the second topic is the idea of bathing on Shabbat and washing. And the sages forbade bathing the body in hot water on Shabbat. This is because some people were so eager to bathe in hot water that they would heat the water on Shabbat, thus transgressing both Havara and Bishul. When they were admonished, they would claim that the water had been heated before Shabbat. So we're not learning right now the laws of admonishing and rebuking somebody for doing something wrong, but I found it very curious that this is where people were still telling their neighbors or friends not to do something, and they would make up this weird excuse or story that they preheated from before Shabbat. So in Mishlei, in chapter 9, King Solomon has a few different advice and ideas about what to do or not do if somebody who is acting foolishly or against halacha. He says first, to correct a scoffer or rebuke a wicked man for his blemish is to call down abuse on oneself, meaning you might suffer if you tell somebody that they're doing something wrong, because you might actually get hit by them, or they'll tell you that there's something wrong with you and your behavior. Then verse 8, it says, Al tuchach letz penisnecha, do not rebuke somebody who is foolish, lest he hate you, but rebuke someone who's wise and he will love you. And in verse 9, I think is a continuation of that, is that if you give advice or instruct a wise man, and he will be even smarter, and this is what a righteous will take as his part and your part in the next world. And last but not least, in chapter 6 of Pirkei Avot, it says Mishnah begins with 48 midot, ma'alot, 48 ma'alot that Torah can be bought or acquired, and the 32nd one is ohevet hatochachot, somebody who loves being rebuked and admonished, and that's a value of somebody who learns Torah, because they recognize that you're doing it out of love and not out of hatred. So these people that were bathing in hot water on Shabbat, I'm guessing that they're in the other category of people who are not smart and are foolish to do something and then pretend that they didn't do anything wrong. So because of these people, and because of, I guess, the social environment that they were in, therefore the sages forbade bathing on one's body on Shabbat, even in water heated before Shabbat. However, one may wash less than half of the body in hot water, as long as one refrains from washing most of the body. There's no concern that one will succumb and heat the water on Shabbat for the lessened pleasure of bathing less than half of the body. Even when washing each limb individually, one still may not wash the majority of one's body with hot water. So, and there's also a problem with a washcloth and other ways in terms of schita. But we have seen that one may use hot water already available in the boiler, as long as this usage does not cause additional water to be cooked. We have also seen that many permit using water that was heated on Shabbat with solar power. According to this approach, one may use this water to wash the hands, face, and less than half the body. However, one still may not use this water to wash most of the body on account of the rabbinic enactment. And the prohibition on washing the body is specifically limited to hot water. One may wash the whole body in cold or lukewarm water whose temperature is lower than body temperature, which is 36, Fahrenheit, I don't remember. One may even turn on the hot water tap so that the water will not be cold, as long as this does not cause the cold water entering the boiler to be cooked, as explained above. It is also important to note that the prohibition of washing the body in hot water is limited to normal circumstances. One who suffers greatly if he must go a whole day without bathing in hot water may wash his whole body in water that was heated on Friday or by a solar boiler. And that's also what we do for bris and all kinds of other examples. So you don't have to be cholesh yesh bo sakana, somebody who is deathly ill, but this is the halacha about that. And the last halacha of this chapter is the halacha of going to a mikvah or swimming. So swimming is prohibited for many different reasons, but the main reason is because swimming is one might come to build or mend a raft, or one who lifts his feet from the ground and floats in the water is considered swimming. However, if he does not lift his feet, then he is considered bathing, which is permitted. So technically, you're allowed to, swim in a pool, but nevertheless, because nowadays it's one of the more leisure activities, it is still forbidden. And in terms of a mikvah, if somebody always goes to the mikvah every day, then also on Shabbat it's allowed. And of course, the water there is preheated, and we're not even talking about women. We're talking about men or other people who need to purify themselves on Shabbat, as long as it's not for what's called tikkun kli, because conversion, going to the mikvah on Shabbat is prohibited. And we'll stop here and we'll open up for questions.